Swally, Nigerian. Emmanuel Ocho, Nigerian pure. Left-handed Brooklyn. I got 60%, they said. Game one got off to a bad start for the Nets Saturday when James Harden had to leave in the first minute with right hamstring tightness. Harden missed the rest of the game and has already been ruled out for tonight's game 2 against the Bucks. Nets got a combined 54 points from KD and Kyrie Irving to win. But Steve Nash says they are desperate for Harden to return to the lineup. Joined now by Fox NBA analyst Ric Bucher. But Acho, how much trouble are the Nets in?
I said Bucks in 6 before the series started. I'm keeping it Bucks in 6. Steve Nash is exactly right. They are desperate for James Harden to return. Don't let that game 1 fool you. The Bucks had their 3rd worst shooting percentage all season in game 1. Chris Middleton went 6 for 23, 0 for 5 from the three-point line. That will not happen again. Do not be bamboozled by game 1. The Nets without James Harden. Oh, we've seen this picture before. We saw it during the regular season because they have a big 3, but we look at some of the combinations of the big 3. You see, any combination that includes James Harden, whether it's Kyrie and Harden or KD and Harden, is collectively 19-3. If you have James Harden, you win games. But we've seen the combination of KD and Kyrie before. They were just 10-9. Now, a sample size of the regular season, extrapolate that and expand that in the postseason. You telling me KD and Kyrie are roughly 500, but any combination of Harden? And you 19-3 win 86% of the time? It's not coincidence, though, y'all. Next full screen. I tried to tell them, they didn't listen, but now they have to. James Harden is a conduit of success for this team. James Harden, as far as how many points he scores and how many points he contributes to, more than KD, more than Kyrie, and it's not even close, y'all. James Harden is the engine, the oil. He is what makes this team truly go as far as it has continued to go, when it goes far. So, you lose James Harden, you lose the series, and more importantly, you lose your ultimate goal. Nets needs James Harden in the worst way.
Agree with you 100%, Acho. And James Harden is not only the most efficient and most capable offensive player, or has proved to be through the first round for the Nets, he proved to be that for the entire playoffs. His PER is greater than Kawhi Leonard's and Nikola Jokic's through the 6 games in the first round. So that ultimately is what they're losing. His offensive rating, also the best of any player in the playoffs. And yes, the Nets did win game 1, but they did so having to play Kyrie Irving 45 minutes and Kevin Durant nearly 40. They can't possibly expect to get through this series if they are going to have to lean on them that hard. We already know both of their injury histories. To suddenly ramp it up and ask them to do as much as they did, yes, the numbers look good as a result. But here's the catch to my point. The trouble is there. How big the trouble is and how quickly it hits is going to depend on what Mike Budenholzer does. In part because Mike James, a journeyman, filled in for James Harden. They're going to have to make adjustments there. But there are a few other things that he could do. So they're in trouble. How much trouble and how painful it is going to be decided by the Bucks head coach. And I'll save that for the next round because I really want to hear what Marcellus, which side of the fence Marcellus is on this, since he's been such a unabashed Brooklyn Nets fan from the very start.
Look, it's Clippers-Nets in the finals. I told you that from day one. Once James Harden finally arrived in Brooklyn, I said, that team's coming out the East, and I told you all the time that the Clippers are coming out the West. So far, I still look genius. This team isn't better without James Harden, but the ball certainly moves more without James Harden. So, are they in trouble? Absolutely not. They still have too much firepower. I don't know if you remember this cartoon, Acho. Certainly, Slick Rick, you may because of your age and birth certificate, but there was a cartoon they used to have the Wonder Twins. And the Wonder Twins used to activate. And they used to always activate and form, usually water in a pail or something, like just something to just destroy you. You got all these weapons. They say, form water pail. Now, water's most of this world. It's gentle, but it's also the strongest force, and it will destroy whoever they win against in this cartoon. Here's why I bring that up. Because when James Harden's out there, as Acho says, he's the conduit of success with this team. But when you lose a James Harden, and no one wants to lose a James Harden, but if there's a time to lose a James Harden, this may be the time. We're in the playoffs right now, and of the three amigos, which one has the least amount of playoff success? James Harden. Which one has the least amount of deep playoff success? James Harden. So when the Wonder Twins have to activate and a finals MVP multiple times has to look at another guy who's won a championship, they look at each other and they form the most deadliest force out there.
Right.
Now, I'm going to tell you why. The Nets won game one with those Wonder Twins going 4 for 15 from the three-point line. And you call that bamboozled? 26%? KD, Kyrie, and you acting like they can't get better? Oh, I'm not even going to get to how everyone else feels activated as Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin turned into Matthew Dellavedova overnight. He was on the ground more than anybody ever seen. That dude was diving, activated. Oh, I'm going to get my shine back, right? Out there having a postseason career game from the three-point line. All the little things because everyone else feels activated following the leadership of their Wonder Twins.
Big dog, that sounded brilliant, but it lacked the integrity of a take that was necessary to appease me and Slick.
Ooh.
Now, Sel, here's the
disagree?
first thing is first.
Okay.
Kevin Durant has never won a chip without another MVP on his roster. Shout out Steph Curry.
But he was the best.
Kyrie Irving
He was the best player.
has never won a chip without an MVP on his roster.
But he hit the
Shout
shot.
out LeBron James.
He hit the shot.
Now, James Harden is an MVP. Now, I just told you KD ain't won without an MVP and Kyrie ain't won without an MVP, so the missing ingredient might actually be James Harden. But I digress.
Man, stop. Where his ring at?
The real point
I like what you did there.
Yeah, you see how he twisted that?
The real point is this, though, Sel. Like, you can't expect Kyrie to go for 45 minutes, like Slick said.
Oh, really?
For KD to go for 40 minutes, and KD in the regular season didn't play more than 7 consecutive games, and think that won't have lingering effects. Marcellus Wiley, I got to see my dog on camera, please. He ran track. He ran track at the highest level through the age of 12. But he ran track at a high level. And to Slick's point, your kinetic chain, Slick, can be off in track. Your hips cannot be aligned, and thus your feet won't hit the ground at the exact same time. You might not feel it day one. It might not affect you at all. You can still blaze to a national record time. But eventually, Marcellus, as you know better than anybody, if that kinetic chain is off and you start pulling a little harder with one hip or pulling a little harder with one leg, then you'll look out and you'll be like, man, why can I not function? And you'll end up in the training room because something is off. Slick, you made the point. I brought it in analogy form. Yes, the Nets got through one game, but eventually when that kinetic chain is off, which it is because there is no Harden, you're going to look up and Kyrie going to be out or KD going to be out, or they're just going to be off like we saw Luka was in the fourth quarters of games because they are fatigued and not functioning properly.
Well said, and thank you for taking me there, Acho, because, Marcellus, you mentioned your Clippers, and I see a lot of similarities in this series to that one now as far as where the Nets find themselves. Mavs came out and looked strong out of the gate, winning the first 2 games. Luka Doncic looked like he was the man in those first 2 games. But there was an accumulation of the wear down because of everything that he had to do. Now, here is the key, is that Ty Lue looked at it and said, I can't play big. I can't play Ivica Zubac. I got to play small and run 5, 6, 7 guys out there that are interchangeable and can all hit the 3. Brook Lopez in game 1 had the worst defensive rating of any player. The Nets took advantage of him. He's going to have to make the decision that Ty Lue made and say, I got to change up. I got to make a